Hi everyone, how are you all doing today? I just wanted to talk today about voting, and this was in regards to a previous post I did, which was focusing on specific issues, but the one key point I was trying to make is to get out and vote to make the change. Especially now, since a lot of the primaries are going underway in some of the different states, and we've got the midterm elections coming up. And doing a little research and talking to some other friends, you always hear about people who are either not registered to vote, or they are, but they just choose not to for a bunch of different reasons. And just to give you an idea on some of the statistics, because the numbers are far greater than I thought. Back in 2016, at the presidential election, you had approximately 231 million people eligible to vote. And out of them, over 90 million people didn't vote, which was about 40%. That's a lot. In 2020, the latest presidential election, the numbers went down, they improved, but still, it was about over 80 million people that did not vote. And again, there's a variety of reasons, which I'm going to go through some of them. And this is also based on a post I did on social media during the last presidential election. And why some people choose not to vote. And some of the reasons are as follows, is they're just not interested. I get it, politics may not be your thing. And to be honest, I was guilty of that myself. For quite a number of years. When I was younger, I was absolutely disinterested in politics. I just didn't care. I wasn't registered, I didn't vote. But then, talking with friends and family, eventually I decided to get on the bandwagon, if that's how you want to put it. And even if they were elections where I wasn't too familiar with the candidates, I at least made a choice. This is your voice to get out, to help make a difference, whether in the country or in your local area, or in the state that you live in. Another reason is they don't like the candidates. Well, guess what? That I can understand, and in the real world, it would be perfect if we could have two candidates where one is absolutely horrendous, bad, and the other one is absolutely perfect and good. And we just choose the good one. But unfortunately, life is not like that. Sometimes the choices aren't easy, but you should always go out and make a choice. And some people like to put it as, well, for me, it's like the lesser of two evils. Guess what? Choose the lesser of the two. If the candidates are really that bad, if you don't like either of them, well then at that point, it's pretty much about damage control. Choose a candidate that you think will do the less harm or cause the fewer problems in the long run. But definitely get out there and make a choice. Here's the thing, are the candidates likable? They may be, they may not be. But they're not there for you to like. They're not your friends. They're not people that you know, except what you see and hear about them on the news and on television. They are there to do a job, and that is the whole point. Don't just turn it into like some popularity contest. Look at the candidates, review their backgrounds, and see what their accomplishments are. Go to their websites and see which of the two would do a better job, even if it's a candidate you don't like. I know that's not an easy thing sometimes, and people don't want to feel like they're compromising, but it's important to make the choice. Don't become one of those statistics that simply do not vote. I'll be honest, and I know these are candidates from two different states. Let's say my choices were between who you've seen in the news lately is Herschel Walker and Dr. Oz. So I got a choice between a former football player who has a very questionable past and has said some pretty outlandish things compared to a celebrity doctor who most likely is a quack and has been guilty of certain wrongdoings or questionable things, and in his recent campaigns has done a total 80 where he had one values, but at the drop of a dime, snap of a finger, his values suddenly changed. Guess what? I would sit down, and if those are my only options, I would have to go with who is the one to do at least a decent job in that scenario, okay? I'm not here to tell you who you should vote for, regardless of what state you live in or what your political beliefs are. I'm just encouraging you to get out and vote. Here are some of the other silly things that I hear that have happened, like in some of the recent elections. A case where I talked to a close family member who said they didn't like either candidate. This was during a presidential run. I'm not going to say which one, but they decided, all right, I'm gonna go and vote for a Mickey Mouse. Funny, you voted for Mickey Mouse, you voted for Disney. Did he win? I'm sure he would do a great thing on our country. Probably would be opposed to the Don't Say Gay bill. Regardless, I'm just making a really bad joke, whether it's Mickey Mouse or some other fictitious character, Homer Simpson, Jon Snow, or, you know what, I'm gonna vote for my best friend or my cousin, who's not even on the ballot, but hey, I think he might do a good job. Doesn't have a snowball chance in hell of winning, but hey, at least you could say you get out and voted, right? Wrong. That is not voting. Like I said, sometimes you don't always get the candidates you want. I voted in primaries hoping that a particular individual would get on the ballot, and it doesn't happen. And that's just the way it goes. You need to get over it. You need to move on and focus on the ones that do make the ballot and make the choice. Get out there and vote. The other things I say is during the last presidential election, when things were getting a little heated at some of the election polling areas, here were some other suggestions I had. When you go in there, try and show up early if you can, and leave yourself some leeway time, because you never know what kind of a wait time you might have. Unfortunately, in some states, in some areas, they had like literally a 10 to a 14-hour wait. That's ludicrous. But they got there and they waited because they believed in getting their voice out there. They believed in getting that vote. Another thing is dress in plain casual clothes. Don't wear any pins or hats or apparel that is showing who you sponsor or who you represent. You're not there to campaign for everyone. What I can tell you is this much. The people that do show up to vote, they've already made up their minds. There's no sign or anything that you're going to hold up or say to them that's going to get them to change their mind at the last minute. They've decided, so don't feel like you're there to go out to represent someone. You're representing someone by voting, not by advertising. It's never happened to me, but I've seen in the news where sometimes some incidents occur where people start getting rowdy or looking for fights, troublemakers, or people that are trying to strong harm people. Avoid them. If anybody comes up to you and asks, who are you voting for in this election? Sorry, confidential. I'm going to vote for both. Make a joke. Anything to, avoid telling the truth, because the simple truth is, it is none of their business. If they're asking you, that means they're probably not asking you in good faith. They're probably looking for trouble. And I don't know about you, but when I go to vote, I'm there for a purpose. I am there to vote. I'm not there to get any type of debate or any type of altercation, whether it be verbal or physical. I can think of better things I can do with my time. I'm sure you can too. So if you see people that are causing trouble, avoid them. At some of the polling areas, usually there's security or, sometimes there's a police presence there. So, again, stay away from the troublemakers. You're there for a purpose, and it's not to get into trouble. Once you do get inside, after you cast your vote, leave immediately. Don't hang around there. Don't, if you got to use the restroom, fine. But as soon as you, vote and place your ballot in, get out of there. Because the more people that get in and out, the better opportunity for the people behind you in line that get to vote. You want to get in as many voters as you possibly can. Here's what we've been noticing lately. Since this whole big lie about widespread voter fraud, which is not true, which has been completely debunked, regardless of some recent documentaries and some other statements that politicians have made, most of them false. They're lying, they know they're lying. The bottom line is, it's not true. And they're doing that for voter suppression. We're seeing it already. It's been happening within the past few months in some of the states, primarily red states or swing states. Here are just some examples, just to give you a few. In Florida, they've put a lot of restriction on mail-in ballots. In Iowa, they've used laws targeting election officials with penalties for expanding voting access. In Georgia, there's a ban on giving out food and water, which that could be a considerable burden if you have a long waiting period. The last time I voted, I had myself and my significant other, we waited about 3 hours. So luckily it was a cloudy day, but if you're waiting a number of hours in line, you need that food and water. So that particular law is absolutely ludicrous. In Georgia, they also have a process to remove professional election officials and replace with partisan actors. Texas, they're also restricting mail-in ballots. And in Montana, they're ending election day registration. Some of these laws you can't control, so that's one of the things I say, try and vote early if you can, give yourself some leeway time if you have to, if it's okay, without breaking any law or disrupting security. Bring a little food and water. If you're worried about waiting for a long period of time, bring a friend or a family member if you can, who intends to vote as well. And you two can just converse. Don't talk about politics. Don't, talk about anything but that. Again, we already know who we're voting for. No one's going to be swayed, and vice versa. If you're going to do mail-in ballots, if it's still allowed in the state or the area that you live in, I did it once. This was during the pandemic time. We didn't feel comfortable going out during the pandemic for obvious reasons. When you do the mail-in ballot, just read it very carefully. Make sure you fill it out properly. You do want that vote to get counted. If you're more comfortable going in person, that's fine. In my area, they did not ask for ID. However, we did have our ID. I would recommend you bring yours, and also bring your voter registration cards, because they might ask for that. They did do that when we went up to vote. So be as prepared as you can and give yourself some leeway time. If it's like election day and you can take the whole day off, if your job allows that, you may want to consider that. Or, if your boss will let you take a partial day off. But again, you want to have that opportunity to get on and vote. And not just in the presidential elections, not just in the midterms, but in the primaries and even some of the local areas, depending on where you live in. If you're not sure, look at some of the candidates. Go out and research their websites. Again, see what their accomplishments are and make a decision and get out and vote. Because I'll tell you one thing, mostly I've seen within the Republican Party, they don't want people to vote. They're the ones that are primarily doing a lot of these voter restriction bills and laws. One lawmaker, I forget who and which state it was in, even said if we allowed every single person to vote, we would never win. Well, that's their problem. If they pass more policies, if they got more accomplished done for the people, maybe people might be more inclined to vote for them instead of trying to be obstructionists. Again, I'm not here to tell you who you should vote for or what if you're in a blue state or a red state, which party you should vote for. You may vote Democrat across the board. You may vote Republican across the board. But I encourage each and every one of you to get out and vote. Some politicians out there have been voting, to get more people to get out and vote. So that is your one voice of change. If you're really fed up with certain things that are going on around you in your life or in the life of other states, this is the one chance where you can help make that change. Get out and vote. And if you have any questions, go to vote.org to get more information to see if you're registered or not. Get out and vote. That's my message to you. Anyway, I hope you understand, and thank you for watching.